This is the CS-100 machine. When you come in from the morning, you're going to want to turn on both of the panels. We've got one here and then one on the other side of the machine. And then once you've done that, you're going to pull out your control transformer switch. And then when you're ready to cut, you're going to want to hit the start button here and push and hold it for about a second or two. And that'll get the saw blades to start moving for you. So this is the emergency stop for the machine. You would want to push this button in case of any emergency, or if you need to stop the machine for any reason, you hear a weird noise, it's doing something unsafe. And then you also want to make sure that this is pulled out before you go ahead and start the machine. So here are the foot pedals for the machine. You have two of them. You have the start sequence button, and then you also have the release button. The one on the right is the start sequence button. You'll push that once you've got a jam and trim loaded into the machine, and that will then clamp the jam onto the Ryertex clamp pads, and then that will allow the saw blades to come in and make a cut. And then it will then automatically unclamp as soon as the machine senses that it has made a full cut via some limit switches, and then you'll be able to pull the trim out of the machine. When you're ready to run your first piece of material for the day, you first want to check all the adjustments on the machine and make sure that they are set to the particular set of material that you're running. In this case, we're at about 5 3/4. And then you want to make sure that you have somewhere around a 1/16 of an inch gap in here. When you go to make the actual adjustment, you may have to loosen this locking collar here to allow you to then rotate this Acme screw to actually make the adjustment. And then once you get to your desired location, you're then going to want to lock this back down so it doesn't move on you. Now that we've got the machine all set up and ready to go, we're going to place our material inside the Ryertex guides, and we're going to slide it in place until it hits our jam stop. Make sure real quick that you're in the correct position on your push-pull valve here. And then we're just going to kind of hold it up square up against our Ryertex guides. And then if your saws aren't already on, you would then want to turn them on at this point. And then you'll hit the start sequence button. And after that, you've got your first piece of material done for the day. When we want to go ahead and make adjustments from, say, a narrower piece of material to, say, a larger piece of material, you're going to need to do some adjustments underneath the safety guards on this machine. And when you need to do that, you want to be sure and make the machine completely safe, and that's going to involve turning off the air, and then also making sure that you've got the power completely off. It doesn't necessarily matter which order you do any of these in, but you will want to be sure and safety tag out the air and the power. And then you'll put your lock inside here for the air, and you'll put your lock here for the electrical. You've also got one more of these on the other side of the machine, but as long as this one's off, the rest of the machine should not power up. So in order to gain access to the adjustments you have to do on the back side of the machine, you'll have to remove these two wing nut screws here. And once you've done that, you'll then be able to rotate this safety cover over and out of the way, and that'll allow you to gain access to all the individual adjustments that you'll need to do in combination with the front to match the width of whatever piece of material you're running for the day. So now that we've got the cover off of the machine and we've got everything locked out and it's safe, what you'll need to do to make the actual adjustment on this machine, and it's very similar to the front side in that you've got the reader here and a tape measure, and this readout here is actually going to match what you've got on the front side of the machine. So what you're going to do is you're going to loosen these set screws on these jam nuts here, and I've already loosened the other 3. And then you're gonna back off these jam nuts here, and you're just gonna spin them until it allows you to go to whatever specified location you've got on this measuring tape here. So for example, in our case, we're gonna wanna be at around 5 3/4 like we are on the front side. And then once you're done, you're just gonna jam these nuts back together, and then you're gonna tighten one set screw here, one set screw here, and then you're gonna tighten the same set screws on this other nut here. And one thing to make note is that when you do tighten these jam nuts back together, you want just a little bit of wiggle in here, probably about the width of a sheet of paper, just so that this threaded rod here has a little bit of room to move around, so that everything moves freely. And then once you've got all of that done and put back together, you'll want to close the cover back up, reinstall your wing nuts, remove all of your safety lockout tagout things, and then you can go ahead and start the machine back up and then continue running. Here we've got the push-pull shuttle valve for adjusting whether or not you're running legs or heads on the machine. Pull for heads and push for legs. And what that does is it either extends or retracts the jam stop and make sure that you get the proper cut location of the 45° on your leg and your header, so that they interface properly when everything's put together. And here we have a nice little bucket that catches all the offcuts of your trim. And you want to make sure to clean this out occasionally as it fills up, just so it doesn't overflow and build up inside the machine.